Some kids grow up learning how to play. Others grow up learning how to manage everyone. If you grew up the over-responsible child, you probably still play that role today. And by the end of this video, you will have 5 examples of how you know that you grew up the over-responsible child. So that is the topic of today's video, the over-responsible child. Dang. First, what we're going to do is we are going to look through the lens of the whole method, which we do in every video. The whole method is a process to aid in your transformation. It is a guided way to go about examining your life and making decisions without being reactive and being able to notice the patterns that you picked up in childhood and what you may be carrying with you from childhood that may not be so helpful to you today by way of the patterns that you picked up. So we're going to start out talking about 2 pillars that this pretty much can fall under. So within the whole method comes with 5 different pillars. The pillars are witness, heal, own, love, execute. So within those 5 pillars, today we're going to talk about 2 of the pillars. The first one being witness, and the second one being heal. So the reason why it falls under witness and heal is because during the process of witness, you go from having a chaotic mind, chaotic meaning you're having thoughts that aren't really helpful to you, you're having thoughts that aren't really solution focused, or thoughts that really are more about complaint or feelings of helplessness. You get from going from those thoughts to thoughts of awareness around where you are in life, awareness around how you got there, and awareness around who you want to be. And your thoughts become geared toward serving and getting you closer to who you want to be, and not feelings of helplessness about who you may be upset that you are. So within witness, with the over-responsible child, it deals with the lens that you see life through. So you may take on more responsibility than you need to as an adult, or you may attract people who are low functioning because you show up being the responsible one, or you may have difficulties letting go of control. So that is witness. What are the thoughts that are tied to this identity of the over-responsible child? The second pillar is heal. And the reason why we look at heal is because the witness and the identity, witnessing of the thoughts that you're now having and the identity of the over-responsible child, it takes place in childhood. Heal is going from burden to understanding. And by burdened, I mean some of the survival patterns we picked up as children, not because there's anything wrong with us, because we had to learn how to adapt and we had to learn how to survive within the environments that we grew up in. And actually, your survival patterns are highly, it takes a high level of intelligence and strategy as a child to pick up a survival pattern, because you looked around and you adapted. And adaptability is a fantastic skill. At some point, as we grow up, we have to look at the ways we adapt as children, because as adults, they may not be serving us anymore. Those same patterns we used to survive, right, as children, they may be the thing that's holding us back from living the best lives we can as adults. So really, this channel is about exploring those things and hopefully allowing you to spot some of these patterns within yourself so that you can ultimately ask yourself the question, do these patterns still serve me today? Also by honoring the fact that once upon a time they did serve you, or they wouldn't exist. So this is in no way about judgment. This is about awareness. So that's why we look at it through the heal pillar. Because like I said, heal is all about the things that you picked up to survive through your childhood. So let's get into the first way you may know that you are the over-responsible child. First way, you were constantly praised for being so mature for your age. So this one a lot of times gets confused with, I guess, being a good thing. And there's nothing wrong with being a child who would like to explore their independence and who shows a level of confidence to take on their world. There's nothing wrong with that. That's actually, a beautiful thing, and it can be nurtured in a child. However, the flip side of that coin is some children end up that way, not because it's naturally their personality and they're given the space for that to be nurtured and grown. Some kids grow up that way because they look around and see that the adults around them are not doing what they need to do in order for them to survive as a family, or in order for them to thrive as a family, because you'll want to thrive first. But even at the level of survival, they realized that was not happening. So in order for their family to survive and stabilize, they needed to pick up some of the slack in order to, cover some things that weren't being covered. So you get you're so mature. And a lot of times when, the adults around you who are having these executive functioning issues, they start labeling you as so mature because what they're really saying is you're not childlike. You're behaving more like an adult, which means you're also in ways being robbed of your childhood. There's innocence that you're losing because you're taking on a level of responsibility that really should not be yours to take on. So let's talk about the second way. You felt responsible for other people's emotions. You were required to be mindful of the emotions of the people around you, not in a positive way. That's the thing. And I think that's why survival patterns can be so beautiful, and survival patterns should be honored for what the protection they were able to provide you in childhood, because many survival patterns can be good things. It's always that other side of the coin, because developing to be not responsible is a strong word. You should not feel responsible for anyone's emotions at any age, because you can only control yourself. Stepping into feeling responsible for someone else's emotions is really a setup for you to feel inadequate in a lot of ways, because you can't control the feelings of other people. You can only control yourself and your reaction to other people's feelings. So that word responsible, it blurs the lines. However, a mindfulness of other people's emotions and a mindfulness and a desire to attune to other people's emotions, that's a high emotional intelligence skill. That's not something to be ashamed of. And if you're, a person who does have that emotional attunement to other people as an adult, that's not a bad thing. And you may not have been a kid who ever necessarily felt responsible for people's emotions, because it's not that you feel responsible, but you may have a level of concern and a level of desire to, make them feel better. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm talking about for the kid who they began to shrink their own emotions and shrink their own needs because they were hyper aware of the emotions of the people around them. Because those people, which were, most likely caregivers, some sort of caregiver or adult around them, were more concerned with their emotional experience, and life for them had gotten, so large that they did not have a lot of space for your emotions as a child. They did not have the awareness or the time or the just attunement to your emotions as a child. So you're left to try to figure out what is going on. So instead of through their emotional attunement to you learning how to attune to yourself and emotionally regulate yourself, you are now reverse trying to emotionally regulate them, but also your kids. So you're not doing it that well. So it's not like you're so emotionally regulated that you have room to emotionally regulate another person. It's that you have abandoned yourself out of fear or concern for what is happening emotionally to the caregivers around you. So that's number 2. Number 3. And I hope you pick up the pattern here that all of these things are survival. So if you are now sitting and watching this video and you're like, those 2 things are me, right? So I might be the over-responsible child. I don't want you to feel like there's anything wrong, because this is just about awareness. The beauty of waking up every day by the grace of God is that you have the opportunity to do something different. And watching this video may be that thing that you're doing different to raise awareness about what your life experience is even like right now, right? What am I carrying that I don't realize that I'm carrying? And then the question after that is, do I need to sit down what I'm carrying in order to live the peaceful life that I want, in order to make the informed decisions I need to make, in order to be joyful and to be peaceful and to have healthy relationships with those around me? So get back to number 3. You learn to anticipate problems before they happened. And I hope you can see this, because I'm getting kind of low on this board and I'm starting to write a little small, so hopefully it comes out okay. But number 3 is you learn to anticipate problems before they happen. This is another survival skill. And again, it is the other side of the coin of what you need to do as an adult, but it becomes hyper as an adult, right? And I believe that there's an example in here. Yes, number 4 is around help. But when I say it becomes hyper as an adult, is because you don't learn to collaborate with people to take some of that pressure off of yourself. You don't learn to delegate different tasks and, different stressors in life. You feel like you have to carry everything on your own. So as an adult, there's nothing wrong with anticipating problems before they happen, but it's not something you should have done as a kid. And even as an adult, when you do anticipate those problems, you are able to build the support system around yourself of healthy relationships of people who can help you carry these stressors, whether it be a friend, whether it be a partner, whether it be, a family member. You're able to properly communicate your needs. So, as a child, back to childhood, right? You learn to anticipate problems before they happen. So as a child, you may read the room, right? It may not be, some children were put in a position where they had to anticipate the bills being paid. It could be that level of survival, or how they're going to eat, right? We got to find food. It could be that level of survival, but also emotional survival. It could be that, those needs are fine and they're taken care of. However, again, the responsibility of emotions, you may walk into a room and realize you can cut the tension with a knife. You may be able to realize people's tells, right? Sometimes it's like, every time something was going on, I know my dad started to, work on the car, or it got really, really quiet, or I knew that an explosion in the household was coming, or, anytime my mom started singing this song, I knew that there was some sort of, thing that made me uncomfortable that was coming. So you began to anticipate the problems before they happen. So not only do you begin to notice as a child, but you also kick into a role where you start trying to cheer people up in order to stop that bad thing that you think is coming from happening. So you may, shift the music in the example of your mom, right? You may shift the music and try to find something happier, right? Because if we're not playing this song, then maybe the explosion won't come, or, maybe I can make her laugh or entertain her somehow. With, the example of your dad. And I do know that, mom and dads are not the only caregivers. I'm just giving that as examples because there's many examples of caregivers. So just think of the caregiver that you grew up with. But in the example that I'm giving, the example of the dad, maybe you're like, oh, he's going out to work on a car. This is probably not, he only does this when some type of emotional escalation is coming. So maybe I'll ask him if he wants to go throw around a football, or, take me to a movie, or just something to interrupt that pattern, which again, that is, for a kid, that is highly, highly intelligent. Highly intelligent. It is such a survival skill. But what I'm telling you is that you picked up that skill in a way that you should have never had to experience. And if you have things that are left over, hyper functioning as an adult from things that you learned as a kid, they may not be, they are not, I can't even say they may not, I'm gonna keep it real with you. They're not helping you right now. There may be bits and pieces that you see are good functioning behaviors, but the root of it, the fear, the underlying fear of it, the underlying horror of losing control under it, that anxiety that's in the pit of your stomach that's spurring you to do these things that may look like functioning behaviors on the surface, but are ripping you up on the inside, that's what I'm talking about. So honor the intelligence that you use to adapt, but also be aware of where you are right now, and if it's fair to you, and if it is the healthiest way for you to live right now. So again, that's number 4. Number 3. I'm gonna erase this. If you need to remember, just rewind the video. Okay. I was gonna try to keep it there, but watch the video again. There you go. Okay, let me erase so I know that number 4 is absolutely on the camera. This book makes it a little hard. So I hope that this is hitting home for somebody and making sense for somebody right now. And hopefully, raising awareness and bringing some clarity. All right, number 4. And this is where we mentioned the asking for help. Asking for help. My handwriting is in like on paper and pen. So on this whiteboard, bear with me. I'm really doing, it looks like I'm not trying, but I am. For help. Felt uncomfortable or unnecessary. Here we go. Asking for help felt uncomfortable or unnecessary. If you grew up the over-responsible child, number 4 may be another way that you can identify that that's the way you grew up. You grew up an over-responsible child. Asking for help felt uncomfortable or unnecessary because you felt like the people around you already needed help. You felt like they were already burdened and carrying enough that they could not carry, which is why you started carrying it for them. So anytime you even thought to possibly ask for help, you're already thinking that, you're adding another thing to a stack of unsteady, like an overfilled trash can, right? If I add one more thing to this trash can, this whole thing is going to fall over. So I'm not even going to take the time to communicate the things that I need help with, because I see that you already need so much help. So that's another way that you know that you grew up the over-responsible child. If now, as an adult, but also as a child, but if you felt that way as a child, most likely you do feel that way as an adult, unless it's something that you identify within yourself, you had awareness around, and you had the awareness to interrupt the pattern when it showed up. But if you did not have the awareness, one, I hope you're getting it now. So welcome to the party. Welcome to living your best life. That's fantastic. I hope that you're listening and taking it in. But if you did not interrupt the pattern, then you are probably still uncomfortable asking for help and feel like it's unnecessary. Maybe not now because you think that the people around you already need help. It may not be the same thought pattern as when you were a child with your caregivers, but it could be that they're just not going to help me, right? I don't want to deal with the rejection of asking for help and not getting it. So really, the pattern, interrupts and impacts your belief system as an adult. And that's why it's really, really important to raise awareness around it. Because in the witness, what do you believe? In the heal, how did you get to the place of believing it? Those are such main points within the witness and heal pillars, right? How did I come to believe this thing, right? So asking for help felt uncomfortable and unnecessary. We talked about where it came from as a kid and how it might be impacting your adulthood. So let's go on to number 5, because this video shouldn't be that long, but it feels like it's getting long. So let's get there. Let me land the plane. Number 5, even now, you feel uneasy when you're not in control. This is purely an adulthood impact that comes from the other examples we gave that are rooted in childhood. You now, as an adult, feel uneasy when you're not in control. When you feel uneasy when you're not in control, it takes a major impact on yourself, on your body, on your mind, on your emotions, on your spirit, because something in your belief system is telling you, I have to do this all on my own, or it's not going to get done, or something really bad is going to happen. And that is a lot of pressure to live with for anybody. I really hope that you hear that, because now we're getting into things that really impact your health and really impact your physical health, impact your mental health. When you rest solely on the control of other people, again, you can control yourself as far as, the choices that you make or your reaction to other people. But when you get into the realm of controlling other people and trying to control situations, and anytime you're not in control, or anytime somebody tells you no or disagrees with you, or things do not go exactly the way you wanted them to go, you're carrying a lot. You're carrying a large amount of emotional toxic weight on yourself that is not going to be healthy for you in the long term. It's not going to be physically healthy for you. It's not going to be healthy within relationship, whether it be romantic, friendship, family, whatever. It's not going to be healthy for you emotionally. It's not going to be healthy for you spiritually. So if you realize that you are a person who feels incredibly uneasy when they are not in control, so much so that they're not allowing it to happen, or so much so that it becomes an argument when you start feeling like you're losing control, you're probably the over-responsible child. You're probably the one who grew up not trusting the people around you because you felt like they were not trustworthy in the sense that they really cannot take care of you. You're most likely the over-responsible child. I think my phone's ringing. Sorry. So yeah, that's number 5. And again, if this felt familiar to you, I don't want you to walk away thinking there's something wrong with me. I actually want you to walk away from this video celebrating that you now have language and understanding about what you survived as a kid. And if you're watching this video, you survived and you adapted, and you should be honored for that. And you should honor yourself for that. So I don't want you, if you feel like you are the person who, has difficulties around letting go of control, I don't want you to walk away thinking there's something wrong with me. And, this is why I'm struggling in this area. Like, I don't want you to walk away like that. I want you to walk away with an awareness to change it if that's what you so want. I want to give you choice. I want to lay out your options. I want you to know that just because you grew up like this doesn't mean that you have to exist like that for the rest of your life. It doesn't mean that you have to exist constantly controlling, because you can trust people. You have to learn to find the right people to trust, and to, a good way of learning how to find the right people to trust is working on yourself to make sure you're a trustworthy person, because we attract who we are. So I hope you hear that, and I hope that this message lands for you. And like I said, I can give you that choice. You don't have to experience this. It doesn't have to be this way. And congratulations on your ability to adapt and survive, because those are fantastic skills. If this is something that you would like to work on, please come join me in my Living Whole community. It's on the school platform. It goes through the different pillars of the whole method, which again is a large focus on raising awareness to tell you exactly where you are, for you to go through a process of finding yourself on the map. Because if you can find yourself and you can be truly honest with yourself, then you have the ability to change. But you can't change what you don't have awareness around. So join the Living Whole community and go through, the whole method on there, so that you can regain your ability to choose. And if you just, like receiving more information, whether it's for you or somebody else, please share the video, because this can be helpful to anybody. I mean, this is human stuff, right? This is stuff that we've all faced. That's what I discuss on this channel. So check out the other videos. And if you would like a shorter form, I guess more, just shorter form, possibly lighter, experience around identifying patterns that you may have picked up to survive in your childhood, check me out on social media, on Instagram and on TikTok at Talk Therapy on the Go. Thank you for listening if you made it this far, and I'll see you next time.